and Girls Club for 11 years. A self-taught singer, Peterson's remarkable talent has had her performing all over the country this past year as an ambassador for the Boys and Girls Club of America. We asked local executive director of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Olympic Peninsula, Mary Budke, how Major League Baseball found out about Peterson.
Major League Baseball is a good friend and a national partner and supporter of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And so our president, Jim Clark, has enjoyed watching Pearl perform across the country at these major events and said, I'd like to get her at a baseball game. And so Boys and Girls Club made the connection with Major League Baseball and told us there was 0% chance. This has never been done before. It just hasn't been done. And Frank told us that this probably 99.9% chance wasn't going to happen, and could we get a recording of her singing a cappella the national anthem. And so we scrabbled around and got a recording, and again thought nothing of it because we knew that there wasn't really a chance. But where there's a Pearl, there's a chance. And then we got the call last week that get her ready. She's going to the World Series, Game 2.
Peterson said in a statement that she's been singing since she could talk. She credits her Boys and Girls Club Teen Room director, Cara Mao, who's also a musician, for supporting her and giving her a shoulder to lean on throughout all of this. She said singing for the World Series doesn't feel real and feels she won't be able to fully grasp the gravity of the opportunity until she's actually on the field. By the way, that game will be broadcast on the Fox Sports Channel Saturday evening starting at 5 p.m. And for the talented Pearl Peterson, well, you have a listen.
They're in my favor. Something's bound to begin. It's gonna happen sometime. Maybe this time I'll win.
Yeah. Congratulations, Pearl.
End-of-life decisions are hard. Be it pre-planning or sudden loss, you need to have an advocate in your corner, which is why I wholeheartedly recommend Drennan and Ford Funeral Home and Crematory in Port Angeles, the only locally owned funeral home and crematory in Clallam County. Their expertise ensures a smooth process so you can focus on healing and being with your loved ones. Their help through the darkest time in my life will forever stay with me. Call 360-457-1210.
Stick out your tongue and say, it's the craziest thing you ever saw. Here at Olympic Game Farm, they say howdy with a wave of a paw. Now it's hard to steer clear of the elk and the deer when they pop in to say hello. They've got lions and tigers and bears. Don't forget about the buffalo. It's impossible to stay calm, so come out with your dad and your mom. Canine and feline, you'll find us online at onlygamefarm.com.
It's Fall League time at Laurel Lanes in Port Angeles. For nearly 65 years, Laurel Lanes has been the #1 place for pin dropping, ball rolling, perfect game, and gutter ball fun. If you're looking for a great way to meet people, exercise, and have a blast, signing up for a Fall League just might be for you. Even if you've never bowled in your life, Laurel Lanes is the place to go to have a ball. Get signed up today at Laurel Lanes or call 360-457-5858.
In other news, there's a new animal rescue organization in Clallam County with a few dedicated volunteers taking in dogs and cats in need of medical treatment or behavioral support and trying to find new homes for them. Huckleberry House Rescue, a 501c3 charitable organization, is also caring for animals with hospice needs and that will be given to permanent sanctuary and end-of-life care. Because it's just getting started, Huckleberry House is not yet an actual location so much as an extension of Huckleberry House Calls Veterinary Services, a business started by Dr. Susie Zustiak, along with veterinarian technician Bob Parr and vet assistant Angel O'Neill. The three are joined by Justine Parr and Mary Beth Wagner, bringing more than 80 years of combined veterinary and animal welfare experience together. Wagner told us the team has been talking about the project for years until a dog named Moon Boots finally tipped the scales.
Susie actually is currently fostering a dog that she just kind of couldn't say no to. She found it on Craigslist, and just the transformation, I think that's what kind of pushed us all to say, okay, we have to do this now, because This dog, if you see pictures of it, just has terrible skin issues and looks awful. And today she looks beautiful, and she knows she looks beautiful. And seeing things like that happen kind of before your eyes, it's incredibly rewarding. And that's really why we're doing this.
Wagner says having vet Susie Zistiak as part of the core group is beneficial for the organization of this kind because they don't have to raise money to pay for animal care. Zistiak says they're starting out by fostering the pets they have in their own homes, but they do hope to someday have a center or a sanctuary in the Port Angeles or Sequim area to centralize the program.
I mean, we're starting out pretty small, pretty slow because, we have full-time jobs and other things that we're doing. But, yeah, it'll also be open to, if there was a generous person that wanted to donate some property or just let us, lease and use the property for that type of service. That's like our main goal at the moment is getting someplace like that just so we can help more animals.
And Wagner says they're working on a website and social media page for Huckleberry House Rescue. So for now, the best way to contact them if you're interested in maybe fostering an animal, donating, or just learning more, email them, huckhouserescue@gmail.com, huckhouserescue@gmail.com. This is Newsradio KONP.
Hello, this is Chris Noble. Before you mail in your ballot, I ask you to write me in for Port Angeles School Board Director because your child's education is worth it. I bring experience as an educator and business leader with a track record of solving problems using an informed, collaborative, and fair approach. Write in Chris Noble for School Board Position 3 for a steady hand in guiding the district. Find more about me on Facebook and spread the word about my write-in campaign. I'm Chris Noble, asking for your vote for School Board Director Position 3. I approve and paid for this message.
Planting in fall shouldn't be spooky. Save the sticker shock and enjoy 20% off now through the 30th at New Dungeness Nursery in Sequim. Yes, our owners Stu and Doug Coburn insist that now is a great time to plant. Take advantage of Mother Nature doing the watering and softening of your soil. Don't miss out on the best plant prices of the year. Greenhouse is chock full of pollinator and brimming with the beautiful colors of fall. Established fruit trees already bearing crop, shade-providing trees, and unique rare dwarf conifers from specialty growers. Something your neighbors will never have. And best yet, we offer free delivery to both Clallam and Jefferson counties following the sale. Come visit the only nursery that stays fully stocked and fully staffed year-round on the Olympic Peninsula. Open 9 till 5, 7 days a week. 360-681-0132. We're at 4911 Sequim Dungeness Way. The New Dungeness Nursery Fall Sale. Going on now through the 30th.
All Weather Heating and Cooling is your Carrier authorized dealer. The Infinity Heat Pump by Carrier offers the highest heating efficiency, making your home more comfortable and energy efficient. Contact All Weather Heating and Cooling today or go to carrier.com.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. A frost advisory begins at midnight tonight and continues until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. A freeze watch begins at midnight Saturday morning and continues until 9 a.m. Saturday. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 48. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight 34. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 48 degrees.
From ABC Sports, this is Rich Cantu. Victor Wembanyama made his debut with the Spurs against the Mavericks last night, early first quarter.
Front court left, dribble handoff, Sohan to Vassell. Works right around a screen by Wembanyama. Back to Wemby on the pick and pop. Will try a straightaway three. And that's the Wemby try.
Call on WOAI. Wemby hit a three ball on his first NBA shot. 23 points for the game, playing through foul trouble most of the time. But it was not enough. Luka Doncic found Kyrie Irving beyond the arc with just under 2 minutes left. The Mavs took the lead and held on for a 126-119 win. Doncic finished with a 33-point triple-double. Celtics-Knicks in New York tied at 101 late fourth quarter.
Bounce pass for Tatum, straight away against Barrett. Got Porzingis, right side, he's going to take the deep three. Got it!
Call on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Former Knick Kristaps Porzingis scored 30 in his Celtics debut. Boston edged New York 108-104. This is ABC Sports. Continuing with the NBA, the defending Eastern Conference champion Heat entertained the Pistons. Miami was up 6 in the fourth quarter when Jimmy Butler did what Jimmy Butler does.
Jimmy spin it, flip it, miss it, gets his own rebound, puts it up and got it in. He has 19. Jimmy doing Jimmy things.
The call on WQAM. Butler's bucket put the Heat up 103-95 with 3 minutes left. That would be their last basket and had to hold on for a 103-102 win. Mikal Bridges put the Nets up 113-111 after hitting 2 free throws with 19 seconds left in the game, but Donovan Mitchell answered.
Strus gets it into Garland. Garland on the handoff to Mitchell. Here it is. Mitchell out front. Unloads a 3-ball. Bullseye!
The call on WTAM. Cavs edge the Nets 114-113. Zion Williamson returned to the court for the Pelicans in Memphis, taking on the Grizzlies.
3:25 to go. Z one-on-one with Jackson. Bullies in and one. It's about time right there. Zion flexing the left bicep.
The call on ESPN New Orleans. Williamson finished with 23 points, and New Orleans beat Memphis 111-104. Around the association, Kings crushed the Jazz 130-114. Clippers got by the Blazers 123-111. It was the Raptors 97, the T-Wolves 94. OKC routed the Big Talk Bulls 124-104. Only one game on the NHL schedule. Caps over the Devils 6-4. This is Rich Cantu, ABC Sports.
Turning to local sports now, in high school football action tonight, the Squim Wolves have an important game at Bremerton, a game that could have major playoff ramifications. The Port Angeles Rough Riders will be cheering on the Wolves because if Squim could upset Bremerton and the Rough Riders beat North Mason as expected tomorrow night, the Riders would clinch the second playoff spot instead of the third place position. The Knights have had a scoring drought ever since their stunning 7 touchdowns in the first half against the Rough Riders, but since then the Knights have scored just 3 touchdowns against North Kitsap and Bainbridge. The Knights have rushed for over 2,000 yards this season, and Bremerton running backs average about 8 yards per carry. The Wolves' upset win could give them an outside playoff chance, too, by the way. You can hear the game live on KONP with the pregame tonight at 5:30. The show will feature an interview with 3 seniors of the Squim soccer team, Kaya Lestage, Micaiah Winter, and Jenny Gomez. In a very entertaining interview, the 3 give their thoughts on their biggest wins of the year and their interesting view of their rivalry with Port Angeles. You don't want to miss it. That'll be followed by the Eric Wicker Show as the head coach of the Wolves, along with senior quarterback Lars Wicker and sophomore running back Liam Wicker. The father and sons will talk football, from the entire team going to last Saturday's UW-ASU game to what life at the Wicker household's like on a typical Saturday. The Wolves halftime VIP show will feature 6th grader Austin Price and 5th grader Noah Snyder of the Squim B League football team, who will play Nia Bay Saturday for the league championship. There's soccer action tonight as Squim travels to Kingston for their final league game of the year. The district playoff drawings will take place Sunday. There's a good chance the Wolves could get the number 4 seed and host the number 5 seed, with the winner qualifying for state. Congratulations to the Peninsula Pirate soccer teams as they've won their Northern Division championships last night. For the Pirate women, it's their 13th championship in a row as they had a hard-fought 2-1 win over Skagit. Jada May Adian opened the scoring at the 10-minute mark, and Sydney Soskis scored the game winner at the 28-minute mark. The Peninsula men beat Skagit 3-0. Niall Grouse scored 2 goals, and Sid Gunton Day scored a goal for the Pirates.
Attention werewolves, vampires, witches, and other things that go bump in the night. Join us Saturday, October 28th for the Seven Cedars annual Halloween party and costume contest. Musical performance by the Nasty Habits and free shuttle service available. The costume contest begins at 10, but all entrants must be in Club 7 by 9 to be selected for the contest. Prizes include first place, $700, second, $500, third, $300, and group costume prize wins $1,000 cash. See you Saturday, October 28th in Club 7 at 9 p.m.
Got an event? Make it special with live classic hits from Black Diamond Junction. The band voted best on the peninsula the past 7 years in a row.
We hired BDJ for our anniversary party. Their classic hits were so good and kept all generations of our guests dancing.
What a great band and the best entertainers. We had them for an event and won't hesitate to bring them back again. No question.
BDJ made our annual family and friends party the best ever. So professional and great to work with.
Get more info at blackdiamondjunction.com or Black Diamond Junction on Facebook and Instagram.
Coming up on 20 minutes after 12 now, let's get a look at Wall Street next.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. It's a dress rehearsal of sorts for Sam Bankman-Fried as he took the stand in his trial for fraud. The jury was sent home while the judge decides what testimony they'll hear tomorrow. Bankman-Fried is accused of fraud in the collapse of his FTX crypto exchange. One down, two to go. Ford and the United Auto Workers have reached a tentative contract agreement, including a record 25% wage increase over 4 years. The deal puts pressure on GM and Stellantis to agree to similar terms. Stocks are cutting their losses in the final hour, but the market remains on track to finish lower. Dow Industrial's down 108, the S&P is down 29, the Nasdaq down 157. There's trouble in Toyland. Hasbro posted weaker than expected quarterly results and lowered its annual outlook. It comes a day after rival Mattel also cited softness in the toy industry. Shares of both toy makers are sharply lower. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Let's check the noontime traffic and roads next. Brought to you by Leeds Farm Supply and Olympic Medical Center.
The premium compact powerhouse is here. The new MT225S from LS Tractor. 25 horsepower, 2-pedal hydrostatic transmission, and a highly featured operator platform. Now available with dealer-installed cab. All backed by the legendary LS Tractor warranty. Demo the new MT225S at your local dealer today.
Find the perfect LS Tractor for you at Leeds Farm Supply in Squim. Locally owned and operated. Call Leeds at 360-452-1400.
LS Tractor, simply more.
As leaves fall and temperatures drop, that means cold and flu season is here. But don't worry. The best defense is a good offense, and we have 2 ways to keep you healthy. First, regular hand washing can help keep cold and flu viruses at bay. Second, protect yourself and your loved ones by getting your flu shot. It's safe, it's effective, and it's your best bet against the flu. So, wash those hands, get a flu vaccine, and let's beat the cold and flu together. Brought to you by Olympic Medical Center.
Newsradio KONP. Traffic and roads.
At the Clallam Transit Dispatch Center now, that's where Taryn's standing by with a check of the noontime roads for us. Good afternoon, Taryn.
Good afternoon. Here in Port Angeles, traffic is busy with the lunch hour as usual. Lincoln Street is stop and go. Highway 101 to and from Squim has pockets of traffic, but no noticeable slowdowns. In Squim on Washington, it's a bit slower approaching intersections, but manageable. 101 to and from Forks, no issues, and clear to Joyce with no delays to report currently. The Canal Bridge is open to all vehicle traffic, and there is no scheduled closures at this time. All the ferries appear to be on time right now, but for real-time ferry information, go to WashDOT's website for the best information. Everyone have an awesome day. This is Taryn live at Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Taryn. Another update from you a half hour from now. It's 46 and partly cloudy in Port Townsend. Out at Forks, 51, 48 now in Squim, 47 in downtown PA. It's 48 now out at the airport in Port Angeles. U.S. Postal Service taking steps to stop postal crime. ABC's Derek Dennis has more on that.
The crackdown on criminals attacking postal workers and stealing mail is from the U.S. Postal Service. Law enforcement making more than 600 arrests since May after some 500 letter carriers were attacked and robbed last year, targeted for their universal keys that open those blue mailboxes on street corners across the country. Recognizing the problem, the Postal Service has started replacing those outdated keys and upgrading mailboxes with higher security features. Another measure, zeroing in on counterfeit change of address transactions where thieves steal and in many cases commit identity theft. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
A highly anticipated study of the MIND diet for brain health just wrapped up, and the results were a bit surprising. First things first. What is the MIND diet? Well, it's a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which you're probably familiar with, and the DASH diet. DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stopping Hypertension. It focuses on lowering blood pressure and cholesterol by strictly limiting the amount of salt in your diet. With the MIND diet, there is one more component. You need to eat foods that are known to boost brain health. Dark leafy greens, berries, whole grains. Now, what this study found was that people who followed the MIND diet as well as people who followed other healthy diets both reduced their risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. The takeaway, the MIND diet is great, but any healthy eating is really going to do wonders for your brain. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
This is good news, maybe exactly when you need it to. Right now, switching to MediShare can save you even more than usual, on top of what you'll save each month by becoming a member of MediShare. So many people are looking for a healthcare solution right now, especially given how inflation is affecting us. And MediShare is the affordable, reliable alternative to health insurance. The typical family saves about $500 a month. You might save even more. And MediShare is a Christian community that's been sharing each other's healthcare costs for 30 years now, and they're making it easier than ever. Apply by October 31st. and you can save an additional $150 on your first month. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your additional savings. Maybe now is the time to make the switch, like more than 400,000 people already have, and start saving. Here it is. It's 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. We all know about our Declaration of Independence. It spoke of freedom and responsibility. But there was another document, a very important document you may not know. I'll tell you that story after this important message.
Kelly and I are so excited about our new website. One subscriber just talked with us, and she's about to use our Johnny Appleseed story for her school third grade history class. She loves that this story is a video, and that I'm telling the story while I'm wearing a pan on my head and eating an apple. She says that it will be a great learning story for the kids. So please go to our new website today at jerrystewartusa.com. You can subscribe to the site for just $5.95 per month and have access to more than 80 stories and pictures and videos and audios and more. Please visit our site as we work to teach our children and adults about our great America. We need so much to get our America back on track as a great nation. Please join us. God bless you.
On July the 4th, 1776, our Declaration of Independence was introduced, and it spoke of freedom and individual responsibility. But that was not the first such document. In November of 1620, the Pilgrims wrote an agreement called the Mayflower Compact. It spoke of common goals and cooperation and freedom, but it spoke of much more. It spoke of law and order and respect and personal responsibility. The question today is this: why is America falling? It's not the lack of freedom, it's the lack of personal responsibility. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. The State Department of Health and Family Services is facing a lawsuit accusing it of failing to keep tabs on a teenager who allegedly starved to death under the care of his adopted parents. It claims that the agencies failed to check on 15-year-old Carrie Franks, who died in November of 2020, one day after a welfare check was supposed to be executed. The initial complaint was in 2017. Carrie was 5'3" and weighed just 61 pounds when he died. An investigation is underway after a police officer fatally shot a suspect in Kent. The incident happened on Tuesday when officers found two suspects with a stolen vehicle at a gas station. Police say one suspect was taken into custody and another fled from the scene and was eventually shot by an officer behind a home. Officers say a knife was seen in the suspect's possession. And the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot accused of trying to crash a plane out of Everett is set to appear in federal court in Portland today. Joseph Emerson is expected to be charged with interference of a flight crew and 83 charges of attempted murder in state court. He is currently being held without bail.
I am finding, based on the declarations in this document, that there is probable cause to believe that defendant has committed one of the offenses.
Emerson told police he hadn't slept in 40 hours, was suffering a nervous breakdown, and had used psychedelic mushrooms before the flight. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app or visit our website, WashingtonStateNews.net.
If you're a contractor, it's now easier for you to do business with the Department of Labor and Industries. Go to lni.wa.gov/skip the line and make an appointment with us ahead of time. No waiting around, no wasted time away from your job site. You get in, get out, and get on your way. Easy. So contractors, just go to lni.wa.gov/skip the line to make an appointment and get back to doing what you do best.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Police in Maine continue their search at this hour for a gunman accused of killing at least 18 people in a pair of shootings last night.
This is someone that should not be approached.
State Police Colonel William Ross says the suspect is a weapons instructor and a U.S. Army reservist, 40-year-old Robert Card. He says 18 victims are dead after shootings at 2 locations, and no motive is being offered at this time. But a U.S. official, on condition of anonymity, tells the Associated Press Card had been taken for an evaluation in mid-July after commanders in his unit were concerned about his acting erratically while the unit was training at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Now, residents in southern Maine are sheltering in place. Governor Janet Mills.
No words can truly or fully measure the grief of many people today.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
On his first full day as Speaker of the House, Representative Mike Johnson said lawmakers are praying for the victims in Maine.
Prayer is appropriate at a time like this, that the evil can end and this senseless violence can stop. And so that's the statement this morning on behalf of the entire House of Representatives.
And he says the House is getting hard to work after going for 3 weeks with no speaker. By November 17th, Congress must fund the government. Authorities say 27 people were killed by Hurricane Otis.
More than a day after the monster hurricane blew ashore in Acapulco, thousands of residents have wrecked homes with no electricity. The destruction so complete that not a single power line pole remains standing in the impact zone, according to the president. Many of the once sleek beachfront hotels in Acapulco look like shells. There's frustration with the government's response. 10,000 military troops have been sent to the area, but they don't have the tools to clean the tons of mud and fallen trees from the streets. I'm Rita Foley.
More from townhall.com.
Donald Trump's indictment proves that saving America is not going to be easy. There are entrenched powers that are fighting this with everything they've got. They want to keep control over the country, the narrative, and the nation's money supply. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnau. I'm a news analyst, a Christian author, an evangelical leader. I speak to millions of people every week, people just like you. You see, what the elites are doing is using inflation and government handouts and now central bank digital currencies to determine how they're going to control America. And that's why I recommend all Christians start a gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group. Because physical precious metals are one of the few ways you can maintain control over your own savings. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898, and you're going to be blessed by taking action right now.
Livestock and poultry producers will need to comply with more specific standards if they want to label their products as organic.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture's new organic livestock and poultry standards follow livestock and poultry producers. The Organic Trade Association pushed hard for new regulations. The association says the standards will promote consumer trust and ensure by the same rules.
As correspondent Jeremy House, the United Auto Workers Union says it's reached a tentative contract agreement with Ford that could be a breakthrough to end the nearly 6-week-old strikes against Detroit automakers. The 4-year deal still has to be approved by 57,000 union members at the company and could bring a close to the series of strikes targeting factories run by Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Liberal New York Democrat Jamal Bowman has pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor of setting off a false fire alarm at a House office building last month as lawmakers scrambled to pass a funding bill before a government shutdown deadline.
Congressman Bowman, a member of the Democrat squad, will pay a $1,000 fine and serve 3 months of probation, after which the false alarm charge is expected to be dismissed from his record under an agreement with prosecutors. The alarm forced the evacuation of a House office building for over an hour on September 30. The New York lawmaker acknowledged pulling the alarm, but insisted it was a mistake as he tried to open an unexpectedly locked door in a rush to get to the vote. The government funding bill was ultimately approved, with most Republicans and almost all Democrats, including Bowman, supporting the bill. Edwin Mora, Washington.
You'll find more of these stories at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Bob Agnew.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ortloff for the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday, October 26th. A major honor for a local teenager. Major League Baseball officials announcing yesterday that a Sequim teen has been selected to sing the national anthem at the start of the World Series game this Saturday in Arlington, Texas. 18-year-old Pearl Peterson grew up in Sequim as a senior in high school and has been with the Boys and Girls Club for 11 years. A self-taught singer, Peterson's remarkable talent has had her performing all over the country this past year as an ambassador for the Boys and Girls Club of America. We asked local executive director of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Olympic Peninsula, Mary Budke, how Major League Baseball found out about Peterson.
Major League Baseball is a good friend and a national partner and supporter of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And so our president, Jim Clark, has enjoyed watching Pearl perform across the country at these major events and said, I'd like to get her at a baseball game. And so Boys and Girls Club made the connection with Major League Baseball and told us there was 0% chance. This has never been done before. It just hasn't been done. And Frank told us that this probably 99.9% chance wasn't going to happen, and could we get a recording of her singing a cappella the national anthem. And so we scrabbled around and got a recording, and again thought nothing of it because we knew that there wasn't really a chance. But where there's a Pearl, there's a chance. And then we got the call last week that get her ready, she's going to the World Series, Game 2.
Peterson said in a statement that she's been singing since she could talk. She credits her Boys and Girls Club teen room director, Cara Mao, who's also a musician, for supporting her and giving her a shoulder to lean on throughout all of this. She said singing for the World Series doesn't feel real and feels she won't be able to fully grasp the gravity of the opportunity until she's actually on the field. By the way, that game will be broadcast on the Fox Sports Channel Saturday evening starting at 5 p.m. And for the talented Pearl Peterson, well, you have a listen. Yeah. Congratulations, Pearl. In other news, there's a new animal rescue organization in Clallam County with a few dedicated volunteers taking in dogs and cats in need of medical treatment or behavioral support and trying to find new homes for them. Huckleberry House Rescue, a 501c3 charitable organization, is also caring for animals with hospice needs and that will be given to permanent sanctuary and end-of-life care. Because it's just getting started, Huckleberry House is not yet an actual location so much as an extension of Huckleberry House Calls Veterinary Services, a business started by Dr. Susie Zistiak, along with veterinarian technician Bob Parr and vet assistant Angel O'Neill. The three are joined by Justine Parr and Mary Beth Wagner, bringing more than 80 years of combined veterinary and animal welfare experience together. Wagner told us the team has been talking about the project for years until a dog named Moon Boots finally tipped the scales.
Susie actually is currently fostering a dog that she just kind of couldn't say no to. She found it on Craigslist, and just the transformation, I think that's what kind of pushed us all to say, okay, we have to do this now, because this dog, if you see pictures of it, just has terrible skin issues and looked awful, and today she looks beautiful, and she knows she looks beautiful, and seeing things like that happen kind of before your eyes, it's incredibly rewarding, and that's really why we're doing this.
Wagner says having vet Susie Zistiak as part of the core group is beneficial for the organization of this kind because they don't have to raise money to pay for animal care. Zistiak says they're starting out by fostering the pets they have in their own homes, but they do hope to someday have a center or a sanctuary in the Port Angeles or Sequim area to centralize the program.
I mean, we're starting out pretty small, pretty slow, because, you know, we have full-time jobs and other things that we're doing. But, yeah, I'll also be open to, you know, if there was a generous person that wanted to donate some property or just let us, you know, lease and use the property for that type of service. That's like our main goal at the moment is getting someplace like that just so we can help more animals.
Now, Wagner says so they're working on a website and social media page for Huckleberry House Rescue. So for now, the best way to contact them, if you're interested in maybe fostering an animal, donating, or just learning more, email them, huckhouserescue@gmail.com, huckhouserescue@gmail.com. A person died after they were dumped from a dumpster into a garbage collection truck in Linwood yesterday morning, according to police. It's not immediately clear if the person was using the dumpster as a shelter. Police responded to the early morning call at 196th Street Southwest, learned from a garbage collection employee about what had happened. Medics removed the person from the truck, then took them to a hospital where they died from their injuries. Linwood detectives are still investigating. They said yesterday afternoon the death appears to be a tragic accident. Police did not immediately respond to a request for any additional details. This is Newsradio KONP.
Come join the First Rates Car Wash team to celebrate their new store this Saturday. The celebration is noon to 5 p.m. with free hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, and big prize giveaways. There's even a steep discount on gas for a limited time this Saturday. We embark on a new exciting chapter of success and growth, and you're invited to join the celebration. See all that's new with First Rates Car Wash. Come in for free hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, and win big prizes. Saturday, noon to 5 p.m.
At Olympic Peninsula Title, we wear a lot of different hats. We're investigators, analysts, and the protectors of property rights. We seek a high standard of accuracy. Our commitment to exceptional service strengthens our mission. We reduce risk. We stay on top of the current issues affecting property rights. We sweat the small stuff to give our customers the peace of mind they deserve. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title. Locally owned and family run since 1981.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is so frustrating. But here's something that could really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it really is a community too. People encourage and pray for each other. And MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for people with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. Plus, it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor and get 24/7 telehealth from the comfort of your home. And here's the thing. If you join before October 30th, you'll get your second month free and save even more. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your additional savings. The deadline again is October 30th, so now is a great time to call 888-SHARE-89. That's 888-SHARE-89, 888-SHARE-89.
Want to know how to get the same cell coverage for up to half the cost? Well, instead of spending a fortune building and maintaining their own cell phone towers, Consumer Cellular just pays to use the same towers as the largest carriers and passes the savings on to you. Pretty smart, huh? Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Check the weather forecast now. Frost advisory back up again from midnight tonight to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. A freeze watch in effect from late Friday night through Saturday morning. So watch out. Cold temps coming again on the overnights the next couple of nights. Otherwise today, mostly sunny with highs near 50 the rest of the day. Partly cloudy tonight with frost after midnight. Lows will be in the low 30s. Sunny tomorrow after widespread frost in the morning, highs in the mid-40s to lower 50s. Clearing out again Friday night and upper 20s for your overnight lows Friday night. Look for sunshine on Saturday with widespread frost, freezing patches in the morning Saturday, and a high near 50 by afternoon. Clear with areas of frost reforming on Saturday night, lows in the low to mid-30s. Sunny on Sunday, areas of frost in the morning, highs in the low 50s again. Clear and frosty again late on Sunday night with overnight lows in the mid-30s. Mostly sunny on Monday. Maybe a little bit of frost patches here and there in the morning. Highs in the low to mid-50s. Partly cloudy, becoming more cloudy through the night. Monday night, lows in the upper 30s. Partly sunny for Tuesday next week with low to mid-50s for your highs. And then Wednesday, clouding up with a slight chance of rain rolling in through the day and highs in the low to mid-50s on Wednesday of next week. Currently, we have mostly clear skies across the peninsula. It's 47 in Port Townsend. Out west at Forks, 51. Sequim now at 48. Downtown Port Angeles, 47. And out at the airport in PA, it is 48. Next hour on the Todd Ortloff Show, we'll have a couple of the Clallam County Commissioners in and the CFO for the county. Mark Lane will be joining us as we talk about the budget. And there's some news to be had, and there's some tough times for the county. We'll see how they're going to try to balance that budget. That's next hour.
The following is a paid advertisement.
This is Church Watch, brought to you by PeninsulaRevival.org. Well, the tally's in and continuing to grow. There have been about 200 predictions now of Christ's return, and all have failed. Yes, you got it. Not a single one has come to pass. And while some people shout hooray, some of the rest of us groan because of such outlandish claims, making the whole subject a big laugh. Beginning way back in 500 AD and up to the present, the prophetic dice have been rolled with narrow winner. Most notable the year 1000, many Christian clerics predicted the end, which obviously didn't happen. The Jehovah's Witnesses have stepped up to the plate on this 5 different times, and each time struck out. And who could forget Herbert W. Armstrong and the whole worldwide Church of God predictions, setting dates for 1936, 1943, and 1975. And then there's others, setting dates of 1994, 1999, and 2000. Who could forget the year 2000 with that rascal millennium bug running around, the whole Y2K fiasco, sending many people into a tizzy, stockpiling food, and preparing for the end? Even your humble host was told by someone that there would be military tanks coming down the streets of Sequim just to maintain order. But as the clocks ticked past the turn of the millennium, nothing happened, and so the stories go on. May 2011, September 2011, 2012, 2013, and then there's the whole blood moon fiasco of 2015, selling a lot of books, bringing in the bucks, and causing your host to yawn, wondering where is the Bible in all this foolishness, and does anyone have a clue what it actually says? Well, more next time, and by the way, watch out for those tanks coming down the streets of Sequim, please. For Church Watch, this is Gordon Haddad.
The preceding was a paid advertisement.
It's time for even more Black Friday savings at your local Coastal.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, we're just what the country needs.
Shop Coastal's Black Friday Now sale to score savings. Dress for the season and save 30% off BTC flannel shirts, 20% off Keen footwear, 15% off all jewelry, 20% off Kuhl apparel, and get a free $20 Coastal gift card when you spend over $99 on men's and women's Justin boots. Save $360 off a Quadrifire Outfitter 2-pellet stove and receive a free ton of pellet fuels. A combined savings of over $650. DeWalt 20-volt batteries are $100 off, now only $79.99. Save $10 off Diamond Naturals 40-pound lamb and rice dog food and 25% off Stanley Equine Feed and Treats.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, we're just what the country needs.
Shop early Black Friday deals at Coastal now. No lines, no stress, just amazing deals.
Hey country fans, here's your chance to win tickets to see Old Dominion live on their No Bad Vibes tour coming to Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle November 1st. Just text the word WIN to our new McCrory Carpet One mainline studio text line 360-457-1450 and you could be on your way to see Old Dominion. Text the word WIN right now to 360-457-1450.
It's pandemonium in Husky Stadium.
Let purple reign.
Penix is going toward the end zone for Polk. He got him. Touchdown.
This Saturday, Washington is back on the road to face the Stanford Cardinal.
Goes for the end zone. Up the left sideline. Roboduce!
Kickoff is at 4.
Touchdown, Washington!
Listen all season long on your home for Washington football. The Washington Sports Network from Learfield.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Just minutes to go ahead of the closing bell on Wall Street, and stocks are headed for more losses today after some disappointing earnings and warnings about slowing global growth. Right now, the Dow's down 0.5%, the NASDAQ 1.5% lower, and the S&P's down nearly 1%. Here in the U.S., though, the economy grew at a much better than forecast rate of 4.9% in the summer's third quarter, fueled by a burst in consumer spending despite high inflation and higher interest rates. Ford has a deal with the striking United Auto Workers Union, now the UAW, preparing a contract counteroffer to GM, similar to the Ford deal, which calls for a 25% wage increase for most hourly workers over the next 4 years. Talks with Stellantis continue. And actor Ryan Gosling topping McAfee's Hacker Celebrity Hot List for this year as the star whose name is used most often as clickbait in online scams. Actress Emily Blunt is next, then Elon Musk and Bad Bunny. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Let's get a last check of the traffic this noon hour next, brought to you by Angela's Furniture and McCrory Carpet One.
You'll get the best of Lazy Boy and Stanton right now during the Big Fall Savings event going on at Angela's Furniture. You'll see our Morrison Rocker Recliner for just $6.99. Our Astor Rocker Recliner is only $9.99. And our Redwood Rocker Recliner sale priced at just $11.99. If a sofa is what you're looking for, test out the Stanton Social Club two-piece sectional priced at only $24.99. The beautiful Lush Marine two-piece sectional is $29.99 right now. See the friendly folks at Angela's Furniture today and save big.
It's National Karastan Month at McCrory Carpet One, which means big savings for you. When you choose Karastan flooring, you choose timeless pieces that fit perfectly within your home, flawlessly crafted for long-lasting beauty. And when pairing Karastan with expert installation from McCrory Carpet One, you have flooring that stands the test of time. During Karastan Month, you'll find prices starting at just $2.99 a square foot for carpet and $4.99 a square foot for LVP. Make sure you ask about free installation. National Karastan Month, the McCrory Carpet One, going on now.
Newsradio KONP, traffic and roads.
Back at the Clallam Transit Dispatch Center now. That's where Taryn's standing by with one last look at our noontime roads for us. Good afternoon, Taryn.
Good afternoon. Well, here in Port Angeles, traffic is busy with the lunch hour as usual. Lincoln Street is stop and go also. Highway 101 to and from Forks has pockets of traffic, but no noticeable slowdowns. In Swim on Washington, it's a bit slower approaching intersections, but manageable. 101 to and from Forks, no issues. Clear out to Joyce with no delays to report currently. Hood Canal Bridge is open to all vehicle traffic with no scheduled closures at this time, and it appears all the ferries are running pretty close to on time. But for real-time information, go to WashDOT's website. Everyone have an awesome day. This is Taryn live at Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Taryn. Pepper will have our next check on the traffic on the drive home about 4:20 this afternoon here on KONP. It's 12:53 now as city councilman in Los Angeles trying to put the brakes on self-driving cars in that city. That a day after a major autonomous vehicle testing program hit a roadblock north of there in San Francisco. ABC's Blake Trolley reports from Los Angeles.
Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez has introduced a motion to have officials in L.A. join officials in San Francisco in calling for a rehearing at the state level on the testing of so-called robo-taxis.
Robot taxi safety incidents, including crashes and congestion, are becoming the norm across the country, having taken place in Austin, San Francisco, Nashville, Houston, and so much more.
Yesterday, the DMV suspended testing permits for Cruise self-driving cars. The DMV says the cars are unsafe for the public's operation. Blake Trolley, ABC News, Los Angeles.
That was like a scene out of Ocean's 11, only not as glamorous, and it was not a robbery. Authorities in New York City say a man accessing his safety deposit box inside a high-security vault in a jewelry store on Fifth Avenue got trapped overnight Tuesday. That after an employee closed the vault door not knowing someone was inside. The vault set on a timing mechanism, locked automatically, and would not reopen until the next morning. Fire Department of New York Deputy Assistant Chief John Sirocco says that crews did try to cut through the concrete walls of more than 2 feet thick, but had to give up.
It's about 30 inches or so of concrete. We started doing that. We got to the point where we got to the metal plating. The problem with the plating is we'd have to use our torches on there, which would infect the environment of that person inside the vault.
So they had to leave him in there all night. He got out the next morning when the auto mechanism unlocked the vault. All right, ABC News coming up in just a shake. And then the Todd Ortlife Show will talk budget and Clallam County this afternoon.
The right to repair movement began with American farmers. They were being ripped off by large farm equipment companies who refused to sell them parts to repair their own equipment. Apple worked the same way, until now. I'm Kim Commando, brought to you by T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. After decades of opposing the rights of customers to repair their own devices, Apple has been forced to change its tune. California's Right to Repair Act now covers electronics and appliances made and sold after July 1st, 2021. It requires Apple and others to make repair parts available 7 years after the initial production of the device. Of course, some electronics use microscopic parts and can't be repaired. But the next time you break your phone screen, if you're handy, you may be able to save a few bucks and do it yourself. I say may because it still might be cheaper to let Apple do the work. Get tech smart the easy way. I'll do all the work for you. Get my free newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com. Privacy isn't a luxury or a privilege. It's a human right. But some companies will happily violate your privacy to turn a profit by selling your personal information to anyone who's willing to pay. This is one of the ways spammers and scammers get your contact and other info. Search for yourself online, and you'll likely find data brokers selling your data. Just about anyone can pay for a cheap trial membership and see a full report on you. Stalkers, identity thieves, and hackers already know this, as do advertisers. That's why you need to stop robocallers and spammers before they can add you to their spam lists. And Incogni can help by removing your personal information from dozens of commercial databases. Right now, Incogni has a special offer just for Commando listeners. Start your personal data removal journey today and get 55% off at Incogni.com with code KIM55. That's Incogni.com, code KIM55 for 55% off. Incogni.com, code KIM55.
For what it's worth, I'm Brian Clark. Heart-wrenching stories from survivors of the shootings in Lewiston, Maine. Riley Dumont, her parents, and her 11-year-old daughter were at the bowling alley when gunshots rang out.
I kind of laid on top of her, and my mom was kind of on top of me. We had 2 other kids with us and 2 other mothers as well. So we were all just trying to support each other in the moment.
Brandon says he ran after hearing the shots.
I slid basically into where the pins are and climbed up in the machine and was on top of the machines for about 10 minutes until the cops got there.
Zoe Hutchinson was with her mother. She says a bullet grazed her leg.
I wasn't worried about that. I was more worried about, am I going to live? Am I going to make it out of here?
She was also wondering about the state of the world.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. And it's just why? Why do people do this?
For what it's worth, Brian Clark, ABC News.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. Or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
The electric stove, the refrigerator, the vacuum. All advances in technology that had a profound impact on society. But the creation of one specific device brought the world together. And you're listening to it. With the invention of the radio, advertisers soon realized the power of marketing to a mass audience, and one advertiser took advantage of radio's true strength. On Christmas Eve, 1926, the first radio jingle was broadcast, and soon, the struggling Washburn Crosby Company and their little cereal became the most popular brand in America. Since then, advertisers have used jingles and radio to stay at the top of your mind. And you have the chance to do the same. Make that lasting connection with your future customers. Call 457-1450 to find out how affordable radio really is and how easy it is to be a part of it. Radio Pacific, a multi-station radio network.
Rely on us for complete news coverage. We're Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles Squim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Derek Dennis. Neighbors here in Lewiston, Maine, and almost everyone knows someone who knows someone else affected by last night's deadly mass shooting. 18 dead, 13 injured in what is the deadliest mass shooting in the country so far this year. Victoria Wilson says her stepdad's friend Arthur was killed.
Much condolences, as I knew the family, as they used to be old neighbors of mine too. I mean, it's horrible to be able to have deaths happen.
Isaac Binney doesn't know any victims, but had a medical appointment at the same hospital, Central Maine Medical Center, where many of the victims were taken. Says he's never seen it so bare and so scary.
The lack of cars really kind of got me and scared me, and I think people are staying put in their home as much as possible.
Well aware, police are still searching for the suspect, Robert Card, considered armed and dangerous and on the run, wanted for murder. I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News in Lewiston, Maine. Now with more news, here's Michelle Franz.
The State Department says it's working with Israel and Egypt to create a way out of Gaza for Palestinian Americans and foreigners ahead of Israel's ground operation targeting Hamas, still on hold.
Sources telling ABC News several factors behind the delay, chief among them, efforts to secure the release of 224 hostages taken by the terror group Hamas. Among them, at least 9 Americans. Waiting before going into Gaza, also giving Israel and the U.S. more time to prepare for all military options. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
In eastern Ukraine, a fierce battle as Russia steps up its attacks. National Security spokesman John Kirby says defense weapons from the U.S. and allies are helping.
The Ukrainians have been able to hold on the defense against this offensive, successfully repelling Russian tank columns.
Kirby also says there's reports Russia has executed Russian troops for failing to follow orders. You're listening to ABC News.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
There is a tentative deal to end the United Auto Workers strike against Ford. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis has more.
A majority of the 57,000 rank-and-file Ford employees will have to approve the proposal for it to become official. And those strikes against General Motors and Chrysler parent company Stellantis remain ongoing. But the Ford deal could provide a framework in negotiations to end those strikes as well.
A man in Arizona under arrest, charged with making threats to carry out a mass shooting.
27-year-old Michael Lee allegedly went on Snapchat on Sunday, threatening to attack what he called Chads and Stacy's at the University of Arizona. Chads and Stacy's are terms used by incel members for males and females. Incel members are young men online who consider themselves unable to attract women and can become hostile. He's accused of promising to get an AR-15 to hide it from his mom and that he would carry out a mass shooting like one near UC Santa Barbara in 2014. A license plate reader caught his car near U of A's Greek Row numerous nights. He's now charged with making threats. Alex Stone, ABC News.
We've heard that music soothes the soul, but now we're learning music may actually reduce pain. A new study suggesting listening to some songs can reduce people's perception of pain, at least temporarily. The most effective songs were the most moving and emotional ones. Results of the study published in the journal Frontiers in Pain Research. This is ABC News.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Enjoy the fall season with help from Airport Garden Center. We are excited to share the results are in. We can't thank our loyal customers enough for nominating us for Best of Clallam County in 5 categories this year. We give a big thank you for making us first for Best Garden Center and Best Landscape Service, and finalists for Best Customer Service, Best Pet Supply, and Best Farm Supply. We wouldn't be here without you. The Airport Garden Center experts love helping you create a beautiful yard and garden that will come back year after year. And our resident shop cats, JP and Karen, are always willing to guide you through pet supplies. Don't forget, with fall in the air, you'll enjoy deep discounts on the huge fall plant sale. Each week, catch a different plant category 40% off. Airport Garden Center, planting knowledge, growing gardeners since 1977.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results, 457-6600. Major League Baseball officials announcing this week that a Sequim teen has been selected to sing the national anthem to start Game 2 of the World Series Saturday night in Arlington, Texas. 18-year-old Pearl Peterson grew up in Sequim, a senior in high school, has been with the Boys and Girls Club for 11 years. A self-taught singer, Peterson's remarkable talent has had her performing all over the country this past year as an ambassador for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. The World Series game will be broadcast live on the Fox Sports Network this Saturday beginning at 5 p.m.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. A frost advisory begins at midnight tonight and continues until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. A freeze watch begins at midnight Saturday morning and continues until 9 a.m. Saturday. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 48. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, 34. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 48 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome once again to the program. Going to spend the hour today talking a little budget with Clallam County Commissioner Randy Johnson and also the CFO for the county. We have Mark Lane in to dive into the numbers and all of that. He promises he's going to make it exciting for us. Yeah, right. First of all, thanks both for coming in. It's great to have you both here as well. Randy, I'm going to start with you just because it seems like it's the same question every year. It looks like we're starting with a significant hole to begin with. So just a bit of your reaction first on where things stand with a first glimpse at the budget, and then we'll get into kind of where it's at and where it might be, by the time we get through all of this.
Yeah, good question. And of course, the headlines, I think, for my fellow commissioner, Mark Ozias, talked about a $2 million hole. But before we go there, I should just a little background. I've been so pleased with the financial department of the county. So we actually, as I've said many times before, the former administrator had both the financial function as well as 17, 18, 19 direct reports. Good luck ever meeting your obligations for both of those. So since we've been fortunate enough to hire Mark and the entire financial team, it's been really great. Unfortunately, that helps you then, or fortunately, it helps you focus on all the intricacies and ins and outs of what goes on. And as further background, without boring everyone, obviously, we begin very early, a couple months ago, with each one of the departments. The department information is then reviewed by the CFO and back and forth, and also our administrator back and forth, and they come then forward with the proposed budget. Then the county commissioners review each one of the different departments and all the expenditures one more time, so we make sure we've kind of vetted it. Do we really need this? Gee, we really need an additional sheriff's deputy, or do we really need to add someone for this position or whatever? So that's the background of ins and outs. And the first recommended administrator budget, just without boring everyone, showed $54 million of expenditures, $50 million in round numbers of revenue. So that's a great place to start. So you already have a problem before
$4 million's upside down right there.
Yeah, that before we begin. But the B part of that, you always also have to understand, because you're in government, you budget as if every position was funded full time for the entire year. So, and that doesn't happen. And so I subtract mentally, I when I look at this, subtract $2 million to begin with. So I'm really at 52 versus 50, roughly. So now I've got still a $2 million hole. And then what happened after this? Things not in your control. Oh, risk pool insurance cost. Oh, $400,000 plus that comes with that. Oh, my goodness. Oh, let's take a look at workman's comp. By the way, back to risk pool, we are actually a county that looks at all the issues relative to the risk with the whole pool, and we're one of the better performing counties. So you perform really well, and you still get a $400,000 bang on top of your head, right? And all of us as taxpayers get to pay for that. And again, my outside the budget kind of discussion is joint and several liabilities where we end up. So if you're 1/10 of 1% liable, then lo and behold, that's
you're liable.
Yeah, and there's an issue at the state level.
Right.
And again, workers comp added another 150,000, whatever. The cost for vehicles when we actually got into what they call ER&R. And you add up all those things, and here's another over $1 million hit from all those things. And I don't know if anyone's been out there trying to buy a vehicle if you think it's really at this price or any other type of equipment. And all those things go into the equation. And then we think about labor, which is like 72% of the total amount of costs. And what happened in labor? Let me see. Inflation kind of took place. We're trying to be competitive with other counties, with other cities for sheriff's deputies and or in the jail and or it doesn't matter what the position is, lawyers, whatever. And we're kind of at the end of the pipeline. So to be competitive, you need to be competitive. Everyone expects us to be able, or roads too, now I think about it. And all those things come about and you say, we need to raise our wages in order to be competitive with each one of those. And that's also embedded in all these things. And so that's all on the cost side. And then the major part of our revenue, everyone's heard this before, particularly for roads or for general fund, is what? It's limited at 1% plus the additional
new construction.
New construction.
So there we go. And so you put all that together and you now say, why do I have a hole, right?
And you do have one.
And we have a hole.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to dive through a little bit. That's why Mark's here. He's the guy with the numbers and the combing through. Mark, I think anybody, even in the private sector, realizes that it's, I think Randy nailed a big part on the personnel cost, because that's that's your biggest chunk is paying people. It's tough right now to get people to stay, to be competitive with wages, whether you're county government or you're in the private sector right now.
Absolutely. It's a highly competitive labor market right now. And what we're also seeing is there's fierce competition for certain classifications of employees simply because we've seen what's transpired over the last 2 or 3 years, particularly in the public safety sector, where we're seeing really a lot of struggles trying to fill patrol deputy and corrections officer positions, simply because we've seen such, I wouldn't want to term it a mass exodus, but we've certainly seen a lot of retirements over the last couple of years, and couple that with this state where we are already very thinly staffed overall, as one of the lowest per capita ratios of officers to our population, and I believe in the country still. I think if we're not at dead last, we're close to.
It was 51st last time. That means even D.C., which isn't even a state, came ahead of us.
So. That's exactly right. And so we are competing with other agencies who have seen a lot of retirements. And there's just a lot of fierce competition. Now, we have been able to bring to bear some ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds, to help in our retention and recruitment efforts on that front. That's been met with some limited success, simply because, unfortunately, when you start to do it, you have other folks out there who have received ARPA funds as well, and they are also offering those kinds of retentions and recruitments. And so, it really makes it very challenging. When you look at our overall personnel costs, we have been growing a little over between 6 and 6.5%, the last several years, which, again, is not not crazy growth by any stretch of the means when you consider what's happened with inflation and everything. But to Randy's point, one of our big struggles right now is our overall expenditures, and I'm just focusing really on what I term our recurring operating expenditures, setting aside those one-off costs that the county's general fund is utilizing some of its reserves to support grant-funded large projects like the off-channel reservoir or the Lower Dungeness floodplain project on the Dungeness and other projects. When you look at kind of our core expenses, they've been growing at a rate of about 7.5% per year the last several years. Our revenues, however, have grown at 6%. So, that really highlights the disparity there, and there's only a certain amount of time that you can kind of run with that kind of level of imbalance before you have to start really, I think, getting creative and starting really looking at your what you can do and what you can control on that front to help close that gap, and certainly my team, in conjunction with our new county administrator, Todd Mielke, have been working very hard and trying to identify some opportunities to close that gap meaningfully that we'll be bringing to the commissioners here shortly.
Certainly, I mean, there's you've got a reserve. You don't want to you can't live on that forever.
That's right.
Traditionally, though, the last number of years, the county's had to dip into that as well.
Yes.
When is that too much in your mind as a CFO?
In my mind, and again, we had a very interesting meeting the other day when we were just talking about what kind of target reserve levels does the county really need to try to maintain in order for it to, potentially down the road, if we ever decided to seek doing a bonding, any kind of debt issuance. The county has, really to this point, we're an outlier in that we are one of the
Never
few,
asked for one.
We're one of the
Really,
few
yeah.
counties out there that their general fund is not encumbered by any debt whatsoever. It's a very rare thing, but we have to be cognizant of what those reserve levels need to be in order for you to be able to tap the debt markets if you choose to do that in the future. And certainly the guidance we're receiving there is we need to maintain a reserve of about 25%. And so what does that equate to? That's about $11 million reserve. Right now, and so we're
You're right on there.
We're on there, and we're actually a little bit below that right now. However, like I said, and I don't want to share too much at this point, since we still need to have in-depth additional follow-up conversations with our commissioners about this. But again, I think we have a path to trying to really get us to a point where we are at that reserve level or above. But so 25% is kind of the magic reserve level. And again, when I say 25%, that is 25% of the general fund's total expenditures.
Got it. Yep. Back to personnel a bit too. Just the cost of that. I'm just curious because there's a lot of your labor agreements have COLAs in them.
Yes.
With inflation running like it is, that's got to be a bigger hit than what would, I'm not going to say what normal, but maybe has been traditionally brought on.
Sure.
Over the last couple of years. We've seen 7-8% inflation going on in some places.
Absolutely. Our collective bargaining agreements are the ones that we are in right now, and again, these will be coming up for renewal at the end of June of next year. Those agreements were entered into at a point when, again, I think one of the terms that was being very broadly utilized was we were in we knew we were in an inflationary period, but if you remember, a lot of people were characterizing it as transitory. We were in this transitory inflation environment, which was kind of brought upon, this once in a lifetime, once every 100-year event called a pandemic, a medical, a public health emergency. And so as we were emerging from COVID, I think at that time there was a lot of uncertainty as to what the economy was going to do, how it was going to respond to the disruptions, the severe supply chain disruptions, cost of materials, building materials, everything spiked. And so at that time when we were entering into that collective bargaining agreement, again, I think we were looking at it and again, relying on the experts at the time to really, emphasize we believe this inflation is transitory. Well, fast forward
a couple of years,
3 years
transitory
later,
is a lot of transitory.
It's certainly, and it may still be transitory, but it depends on what your duration definition of transitory is. 3 years, versus a few months, and so. That has put some pressure, on us, and certainly has resulted in us, in selective instances of needing to evaluate certain classifications of employees and looking at doing potential salary studies. We've had to do that in some limited instances. But again, it's a reality that we're looking at. One of the things to keep in mind too is a lot of our employees. Certainly, there's a COLA involved, but more than half of our employees also receive what are called step increases. And so, you'll ask the kind of question, well, if you're limited to a COLA, why have your personnel expenses increased 6% on average a year? And it's because we do have a good number of our employees who receive not only a COLA, but then they also receive what's called a step increase, which is usually another 2.5%. And again, this is reflective of their experience and their level of expertise within their classification as an employee increases. It is a mechanism in our pay scale to acknowledge that.
And that's a double-edged sword in the situation you're in, because you certainly want people to, you want people to stick around.
That's right.
That's one incentive to get people to stick around. And when you just got done saying it's tough to get people to be here, you can't, and maybe Randy, this is a question for you, can you freeze step increases? Is that ever an option even?
Well, obviously there are a lot of unions involved, but the basis when we settled back to that, whole labor negotiations, we went through a change, and the change was, instead of an outside very expensive attorney, we do most of the negotiating in-house, and then we want to be very fair to everyone, and fair's the word I always try to underline, because what are the comparable counties we look at that would be similar to us, like, Cowlitz County or Lewis County or whatever. And so we try to look at what the same places, same kind of operations or job classification, are we really being fair to everyone? And of course, as Mark said, there have been some cases where we've had to go in and make some changes, or else we'd lose most of the key employees. But anyway, we settled at 2.5% at that time, just so everyone knows, is the baseline that we had. But it's coming up for negotiation, and I can tell you, back to the county budget, not only this year but next year, I just look at what happened with the United Auto Workers settling here recently, and I think, oh my goodness, you
can't absorb that as the company would be in the case of the United Auto Workers, where the union would be
filing, and again, I underline this because there are a lot of counties, when you have the whole impediment about revenue, how are they going to continue in the future? And some of these very small counties are kind of barely holding on even now. Yeah. And I can't imagine, with some of the cost increases that are occurring, how they're going to be there. State legislature needs to think about that too.
That's it. And that is a good spot. Let's just pause there, because I want to come back and talk about kind of what thoughts might be about revenue side of things. There's only so many places that a county can actually get increased revenue, and none of it is popular with the constituency out there, to be honest. And we'll chat about that, but certainly you do have to pay to, pay for folks and services and all of that. And we'll continue our discussion about the upcoming budget. We'll get into a little bit more of the numbers as we go through the rest of the hour, too, with the CFO for the county. Mark Lane is joining us, and County Commissioner Randy Johnson's here as well. Back with more with both of them right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
At Foghorn Olive Oil, we've got a lot more to offer. In addition to our olive oils and balsamic vinegars, we've added a fantastic selection of Washington State wines and beers, as well as fabulous salads, delicious paninis, and delectable dips. Join us where great flavors and good times come together. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 12 to 4, and Thursdays through Saturdays, 12 to 7. Foghorn Olive Oil and Wine Bar, where great flavors and good times come together.
Hello, this is Amanda Huff with Swim Valley and Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapels. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a new, exciting, and environmentally friendly development in the funeral industry. It's called natural organic reduction, or simply terramation. Perhaps you've heard of it. Terramation is a process in which the body, after death, is returned to the earth in a carbon-neutral, eco-friendly manner. The process takes place in a controlled environment, and all that remains is a natural, odorless, compost-like material. If you'd like more information about terramation and advanced planning, call us today at Harper Ridgeview in Port Angeles or Swim Valley Chapel in Swim, and one of our knowledgeable and caring funeral professionals will assist you in answering your questions. Harper Ridgeview and Swim Valley Funeral Chapels, because your loved ones deserve the best.
At Straight View Credit Union, we believe that fast, flexible loan decisions are key to helping our members achieve their financial goals. That's why we're proud to offer a streamlined loan application process that takes place entirely in-house. All loan decisions are made locally, right here in our building, by our experienced lending team. This means that we can typically approve loans within 1 to 2 days, so you can get the funds you need quickly and efficiently. Plus, as a member-owned cooperative, we're committed to putting your needs first and providing personalized service that helps you achieve your financial goals. So, whether you're looking to purchase a new car, purchase a new home, make home improvements, or consolidate debt, we've got you covered. Visit us online at svcu.com or stop by our branch on Lincoln Street in Port Angeles to apply for your loan today. Straight View Credit Union. Fast, flexible loan decisions to help you reach your financial goals. Insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, talking county budget with the county commissioner. Randy Johnson, also the CFO for the county, Mark Lane, joining us for the hour. And what we started with is the fact that at this point, and we should say at this point, things are upside down, relatively significantly looking at the budget, but it's still kind of in a rollout stage, Mark. I guess that might be a good way to put it. And you did emphasize that there's still a lot of tweaking to do. There's still a lot of back and forth.
Absolutely. And I would just say that, our draft budget, which will be presented to the commissioners, I believe on Tuesday, November 15th, if I remember correctly, it is going to look significantly different than the budget that we rolled out under the recommended, simply because again, we've had to turn over some additional rocks and to find some additional savings. We've had to reevaluate some of our priorities and how we're strategically utilizing some of our funds. And again, we're trying to create what I view as a sustainable budget. It certainly doesn't do us a lot of good to stand up one-time fixes, and then we're still looking at a significant structural problem. But, again, I think the budget that we will be presenting should be markedly improved from, I think, with where we're at right now. So.
Personnel cuts in any sense? I mean, you're trying to avoid that as a recommendation, right?
Absolutely not. That is something that we are, I think we're committed to avoiding at all cost. Are there situations where we might potentially look at open positions and consider restructuring certain open positions? That's always on the table, and I think that's some messaging that I think we ask all of our department heads and elected officials to look really at a critical eye whenever they have an open position come up. Our government and our services are constantly evolving, and so a structure that might have made sense 10 or 15 years ago with staff that we had in place when those positions come up and are open. I think I think the expectation is that we need to, kind of look at that as an opportunity to say, would we still structure it the way we would, and in fact then proceed in filling that position. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, are there other options? Has anything changed in terms of our priorities? What we're focusing on, 5 or 10 years ago might have substantiated that structure. But if things have shifted and our priorities have shifted, then I think it falls upon us to really ask those questions and question those situations. But no, to get back to your original answer, we are absolutely adamant that we are not looking at any kind of headcount reductions at this point. I don't think we need to go there in order to get us to a point where at least we're in a better position where we are today.
It's probably not fair because I got to. Well, I'll take the break first. We'll come back. I want to talk a bit about state mandates, unfunded mandates. This is one of Randy's favorite subjects. That's why I said I need to probably have a full segment to get into that. And we'll talk about that, how that fits into the budget, kind of the pluses and minuses with some of that, as well as we talk about what's next at Clallam County with the Mark Lane, who's Chief Financial Officer, and Randy Johnson, one of the county commissioners, right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Come join the First Rates Car Wash team to celebrate their new store this Saturday. The celebration is noon to 5 p.m. with free hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, and big prize giveaways. There's even a steep discount on gas for a limited time this Saturday. We embark on a new exciting chapter of success and growth, and you're invited to join the celebration. See all that's new with First Rates Car Wash. Come in for free hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, and win big prizes. Saturday, noon to 5 p.m.
Stick out your tongue and say, it's the craziest thing you ever saw. Here at Olympic Game Farm, they say howdy with a wave of a paw. Now it's hard to steer clear of the elk and the deer when they pop in to say hello. They've got lions and tigers and bears. Don't forget about the buffalo. It's impossible to stay calm. So come out with your dad and your mom. Canine and feline, you'll find us online at onlygamefarm.com.
Saving on your home improvement projects is almost as important as the service you should receive. With Angelus Millwork, Angelus Rentals, and Hartnagel Building Supply, you can always depend on superior customer service. But did you know that your favorite employee-owned stores have monthly product specials, coupons, and sales? Monthly specials on products that you need now are handpicked so you can save up to 30% when you need it the most. When headed to your mailbox, look for the Valpak envelope with special coupons from all our stores. Angelus Rentals, the only full-service tool rental company in Port Angeles, features a different tool each month that is 25% off. In closing, visit angelusmillwork.com for the latest sale information. We have annual sales on power tools, paint and stain, decking, wood pellets, and more. What we're trying to drive home is there's always a promotion going on, so come see us often or find out more online at angelusmillwork.com. Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel Building Supply. Building homes, building community since 1906.
Calling all parents of teens. Is your student getting ready to head to college or career training? Do you want to support them in getting the most aid for school? United Way of Clallam County can help. In partnership with Peninsula College, United Way is offering free student financial aid navigation for both parents and students. Go to unitedwayclallam.org/FAFSA-WASFA today to schedule a one-on-one with Kennedy, Student Financial Aid Liaison.
Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. Even though Washington saw the second highest number of fires in state history at over 1,800, Commissioner of Public Lands Hillary France says the state was successful in keeping the fire season in check. The acreage burned was kept to around 165,000 acres compared to 1 million acres burned in 2015. She said investment in firefighter aircraft and ground equipment allowed for faster responses, keeping most of the fires under 10 acres. There were more fires in western Washington than central and eastern over this season, which she believes should serve as a wake-up call to increase fire prevention. A man brandishing a firearm triggered a heavy police response to the Home Depot on Queensgate Drive in Richland last night. Officers quickly arrived on scene, took the man in custody, and recovered the gun. This witness watched the arrest unfold.
Dude standing at the door when the cop showed up, turned himself in. No fight, no struggle.
voluntarily turned himself in. Gun was on the ground.
Officers searched the store and the surrounding parking lot and identified no other threats. And a Sequim native will be in Arlington, Texas to sing the national anthem at Game 2 of the World Series on Saturday. 18-year-old Pearl Peterson, a senior in high school, has been with the Boys and Girls Club for 11 years. She's a self-taught singer and has performed the national anthem across the country as an ambassador for the Boys and Girls Club. The national anthem will be around 4:45 p.m. for Game 2. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app. You can also visit our website, WashingtonStateNews.net.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I taught for 20 years, until I started forgetting my lectures.
Eventually, he had to quit. Getting his early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard, but it gave us time to take control of the situation, together.
I can't imagine going through this without him.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. A frost advisory begins at midnight tonight and continues until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. A freeze watch begins at midnight Saturday morning and continues until 9 a.m. Saturday. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 48. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight 34. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 48 degrees.
County budget. That's what we're talking about this afternoon with Clallam County Commissioner Randy Johnson and the CFO for the county, Mark Lane, joining us as we get into things. And we're trying not to get too deep into numbers and things like that, but more about what it looks like. And it's upside down at this point as well. But I went to the break teasing one of Randy's favorite topics to chat about, and I'm sure he'll jump in on this one. And that is unfunded mandates from the state. And I think those particularly hit a county hard because the county's required to do so many services the state needs done, but they don't always pay for the whole thing. So give me a flavor, Mark, a bit of overall kind of what that looks like in your budget, is that what it costs you to provide those things and how much the state's actually plugging back in.
I'll give you probably one of the most glaring examples of that, Todd, within our budget. So our county spends about 57% of our general fund budget on public safety. And then a subcomponent of that is public defense. So providing a public defense for folks who can't afford an attorney of their own is about little over a $2 million cost to the county each year. The state right now provides us a total of $70,000 of support funding for that function. Which obviously is a proverbial drop in the bucket compared to what we're incurring. And one of the challenges that's even more augmented in that particular area is we were talking earlier about what positions are we having difficulty filling and the challenges of recruitment. Attorneys are incredibly hard to source in the public sector right now, both on the prosecution side as well as defense. And so, just as we've had to do with our prosecuting attorney, our costs, our personnel costs have had to go up in support of our public defender, Clallam public defender. And that is just, that's probably the most glaring example in our budget where there's a real fundamental disconnect between what the state is choosing to prioritize in terms of helping support counties and funding a very core function of providing public defense, and really what is falling on the shoulders of Clallam County taxpayers.
Randy, that's an astronomical difference in that. During the break, we're talking about, I feel like that's part of it's a state obligation, and I would think at least half of that ought to come just from the state. Now, granted, as a taxpayer, it's all my money anyway, so I guess I could argue it's coming out of my pocket regardless, but really the ratio seems to be way off.
No, it's way off, and we've had this discussion with the state legislature before about, as a minimum, they should be funding half of it. And I think, as you and I discussed in the break, I think at a local level, that means we'd keep a lot closer track of it than maybe the state half would. But and that's great. But as Mark said, lawyers are in short supply. Public defense is. Sixth Amendment rights, I think we all get it. I mean, that's absolutely imperative. But why put that all on the county? And it hasn't changed since I've been a county commissioner. And I'll be honest, I was the only non-attorney sitting on the public defense bar over in Seattle. And they wanted to talk all the time about things like, whatever, was happening relative to the new regs or whatever. That's great. But when we wanted to talk about funding and stability and everything else, I didn't get their attention very well. Yeah. So I ended up dropping off that board. So, but it's been a fight. I don't know if this will ever change, though. I mean, it sounds like it's probably going to be a conversation we'll just have to continue to have in the county budget. I think it's going to be a lawsuit with the county, if I recall correctly, county versus the state. So, and you're not the only county. I mean, it's every county's facing the same thing. Every county in the entire state has the exact same issue.
And nobody, as you pointed out, is arguing that we do away with defense. I mean, it's just who's paying for this.
Well, and it's also a question of funding priorities. And I'll give you an example where there's a bit of a disconnect between what I view as our needs here at our county versus how the state is choosing to appropriate dollars. One of the new sources of funding for the county that has allowed us to greatly enhance our Health and Human Services group is a bucket of money called Foundational Public Health dollars from the state. The first year that rolled out, it was I believe around between $600,000 and $700,000 a year. Next year, we are budgeting that number to increase to $2.1 million. But for us to utilize that funding, it's causing us to increase the level and breadth of the services that we've been providing in Health and Human Services. And that's not to diminish the great work that our Health and Human Services group is doing, but it's a great example where the state identified a desire to greatly increase the amount of public health funds, and yet areas like public defense and really public safety are kind of forgotten or neglected. So in my mind, it's a matter of the state and its choices at how it prioritizes helping support the county.
And certainly, I mean, these are all earmarked funds, as you just pointed out. Yes. People may say, "Oh, great, $1.5 million. You could just move that around." You can't.
No,
it can only go to certain things.
It can only be utilized for certain things.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and it's again, I'm really pleased that the state recognized that issue. I mean, COVID brought up the fact Health and Human Services is probably underfunded forever, and it's not like our opioid disasters, what I would call it, has gone away, because it's continuing, and our county is not on the better part of the spectrum when we look at all other entities. So that's obviously an area we need to focus in. Makes all the sense, but we fund that. And then we have things like mental health, and we ask the person in charge of our jail percentage of our residents in the jail that have mental health issues, and it was lower than I've heard before, but it's still over 2/3.
Yeah, that's too high of a number to deal with.
Too high. Yeah. And what alternatives do we have?
And what I would add to that dynamic is what that has resulted in is an astronomical increase in the amount of jail medical costs that the county is incurring. Again, and I apologize for rehashing a previous topic, but talking about positions that are in demand, nursing is another issue where we have had to fundamentally increase the amount of funding that we provide to our outside provider to provide nursing services for our jail. And again, we are increasingly seeing ever-growing segment of our jail population that have significant medical conditions. Not only is relating to chemical dependency or mental health issues, but physical underlying health issues that require treatment. And so that has put a tremendous strain on the general fund's budget. I don't have figures directly in front of me, but I would say that cost in my tenure, I've been with the county just about 5 years now, I would say that cost is probably increased by a factor of 3 or 4 at least.
Wow. Yeah. You're illustrating all the things. And I mean, things happen and then there's an exponential increase of things happening relative to, medical things in the jail, for example, and things. One of the other issues, this related to this, is quite often you roll out a program. Some of this goes with what was grant funded. It's like, okay, here's some money, start this program, do it. It's great for a few years, then that money goes away. Then you're left holding that. That's an unfunded mandate in some ways as well. Is there a lot of that in the budget? And how are you dealing with that?
Well, that is something that we are always mindful of when we decide to pursue a grant, because we always want to understand what is the long game. Meaning, is this going to be a source of funding that we can count on, or is this something that is potentially going to sunset at some point? And that certainly steers, it warrants consideration every time we look at those things. Now, I would say that I think the county has done a pretty good job of avoiding those situations where, and I'll give, COVID, the era of COVID as a good example. Those grants, we knew those grants were only going to last as long as the pandemic did. And, and as we had to, potentially add, staffing positions, that sort of thing, we always made it very clear that those were grant-funded positions. And so when that funding dried up, those positions, we had the discipline to have those positions, sunset, as well. So anyway, we always have to be mindful of that. And again, our department heads, elected officials do a great job of keeping the grant pipeline full. If you look at our grant revenues year to year, you'll see some fluctuations year to year, but overall, we still see about 2.7 to 2.9 million of grants, per year for the county. And that's not an insignificant, component of our revenue stream. But again, we try not to put ourselves in a position where we are creating for ourselves an unfunded mandate.
Your own one years down the road.
Yes.
Well, the other thing that people need to, I just saw a television documentary the other night about roads. How we can maintain our roads. Let's just talk about it. The county owns 490 plus or minus miles of road. Well, and we chip seal, and our funding from taxes just about is equal to that. But if anyone thinks equipment's the same cost as before, the people are the same cost, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this coming year we're going to do like 43 miles of road. And we've been pretty good about keeping up. But I can see those days not continuing as we think about
your cost per mile is going to go through the roof eventually.
Absolutely.
And that coupled with, again, roads deals with some of the same dynamics that hold the general fund revenue back, which is, again, they have a property tax levy that is also subject to the 1% annual growth limit. That and the other thing that is under, I think, duress as we see more and more vehicles, more hybrid usage, more EV vehicles, is gasoline tax, fuel tax that flows to the roads department, is a revenue stream that's just not growing significantly. It's kind of staying flat, treading water. Well, as your costs, as you mentioned, materials, cost of oil, fuel, everything are going up. That puts pressure on the roads department to the point where, a lot of our road projects are dependent upon us securing various grant sources to get.
Mark, you talked about there's certain capital type projects. We talked about the side channel. You mentioned that as one that is kind of in the works. Can you move money from some of those projects to help fund the budget? Explain for folks, why that could or couldn't happen, I suppose.
Certainly, and I'll use the Lower Dungeness floodplain project as an example. That's a project that is in the final stages of wrapping up. We have one or two things that we're going to be getting done next year in relation to future of town road and determining what we're going to do on that front. But that was a fund that we had to, and when I say we, I'm sorry, the general fund had to provide what I term kind of seed capital to that project. And what I mean by that is that project was entirely funded through grants that were secured, a variety of grants. But in order to get the reimbursements for those, you have to provide funding in order for those funds to actually pay the cost.
You had to pay out, and then you get the money back.
That's exactly right. We have to pay the cost first and then get the money back. Well, you have to put some money in. You have to prime the pump, if you will. And so what we saw this year is the general fund had provided almost $4.7 million of this working capital to the Lower Dungeness Floodplain Project. This year, we were able to bring back $4 million of that number back into the general fund, with the remaining balance expected to be returned next year as that project wraps up.
So on paper, it looks pretty good. I mean, that's. But you'd already spent the money.
Well, that's exactly right.
Less,
it's basically just the repayment of a short-term loan.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a good point. But a lot of these things, I mean, you can't just, because I know you probably hear from folks who say, well, why don't you just put that on hold and spend the money, that $2 million on this thing, and, plug the budget hole. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not. It's not, because, again, I think all the projects that we're involved in right now, I think, have strong commissioner support, and I think have strong public support to move forward with. But it just, fortunately, we have a general fund that is in a position to be able to provide some of that working capital needs for these projects. I think we talked about this probably this time last year, is that, we have an ambitious body of work that the county has underway in these various projects. And I think they're going to deliver very important long-term benefits to our communities up here. But while they're ongoing, it is requiring us to tie up some dollars in these projects to kind of get them off the ground, until we have all the grant funding starting to come in, at which point, the general fund can kind of made whole on the tail end when the project wraps up.
So why do we have reserves?
Right.
What else to say?
Right.
Gee, we're dipping in those reserves and then it comes back later. But that's the reason, again, when Mark started, why do we need 25% as a percentage of reserves of our general operating funds?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Mark, real quick, you talk about, trying to find kicking over the rocks. I think you referred to it earlier. Give us a little bit of an example of where you're going to try to find some savings.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Obviously, we do have some funds that we have that we haven't fully allocated outside of the general fund. I'll use the American Rescue Plan Act funds as an example. That was a fund that received about $15 million under the American Rescue Plan Act fund. And we had, when we established that fund, we allowed basically the funding that we weren't utilized to earn interest. And that interest is accumulated to a pretty significant number, almost $500,000. And so that is one example where, again, that interest is considered the county's. It's not subject to having to be utilized.
You could take that. You could put it anywhere you might need it.
That's exactly right. And the way I view those monies, as I shared with the commissioners the other day, we had a fair number of people who dedicated a lot of administrative time to administering those ARPA funds over the last 3 years. Myself, previous person on our staff, Rich Meyer, some other BOCC analysts. We really did not charge anything relating to that because, again, I think the intent was we wanted to maximize the dollars that went out to help the community during COVID. And I think, we've been, very successful in deploying that. And so that $500,000, in effect, you could say is recoupment of the substantial amount of general fund staff time that administering the ARPA funds and everything has represented over the last 2.5 years. That's one example. Again, I don't want to share too much about, but we are looking at certain revenue enhancement opportunities. One of the things, and this is already kind of reflected in our budget, but we're continuing to monitor, is our sales tax revenue growth that has been, growing at about 9% a year for the last several years, really since COVID, when, I kind of call it the effective combination of a lot of stimulus being provided as well as a stay-at-home and shop, kind of environment where a lot of businesses were closed down. Well, going into next year, one of the things that our Washington State Economic Forecast Council is indicating is they are forecasting pretty anemic sales tax growth next year, about 1%. Our county has actually come out and said we believe it's going to grow closer to 4.1%. And the reason for that is really starting in 2020, if you recall, when we really started to see an uptick in the number of fish barrier replacement projects that were happening along the 101 corridor. I think Bagley Creek, Siebert Creek, those projects have just really mushroomed into a much larger number.
Yeah, and you get the revenues.
We
off
do,
this, the tax revenues. Right?
And just to kind of give you an idea, so those projects were anywhere from $29 to $30 million in total spend in the county prior to 2024. It is going to jump up to about $75 million next year, and then $71 million the following year. And that is simply because we have some overlap of some very large projects. We have the Elwha Bridge replacement. We have a number of fish barrier projects. There's $109 million to replace 6 fish barrier projects between Jefferson and Clallam County. We have 5 of those. And so that is going to, provide us a kiss, if you will, to our sales tax revenue, really, taking the number from about $300,000 that these kinds of projects were kicking off prior to this year, and raising that number up to between $700,000 and $750,000 next year. And that is just for the general funds local sales and use tax. We also have juvenile sales tax. We have a couple of other sales taxes that are going to benefit from that. And so, one of the things I'll preface is, okay, then, what are you going to do after 2025 when these,
well, they're not going to have that.
Right, exactly. Right now, WashDOT is under the gun trying to get all of these fish barrier projects completed to be responsive to the the court order. And so, once you get past 2027, is there potentially a funding cliff that we're going to see in sales tax? And, that's something we have to be mindful of and start planning for right now. Again, we're hopeful that as we start emerging out of hopefully what we, after next year, we start seeing interest rates start to normalize a bit, and and the kind of the collar that is being put on the economy right now by the Federal Reserve starts to ease, that we'll continue to see good economic growth here. That by the time that happens, we'll see enough growth in other areas that will help offset the impact.
All right, we're out of time. We could talk for another hour about some of this stuff. Mark Lane, it's always great to have you. And you always give a great layman's view of what's going on with the budget. Can get a little wonky sometimes. I think our listeners appreciate that. Randy Johnson, always great to have you in, too. I know the budget's a big part of what you get your hackles into when you can every time this time of year. Still more to come. You got a couple of hearings and things coming up down the road.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for those. So thanks, both of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break. ABC News will be coming up next.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
When every second counts, you need the best care. Olympic Medical Center's emergency department is making significant updates to ensure you receive faster, more efficient care. A streamlined process means you'll receive expert attention from our healthcare team starting the moment you're triaged. OMC is also the only Level 3 trauma center on the North Olympic Peninsula, meaning we're prepared to quickly handle true emergencies and traumas when they arrive. Learn more about what we're doing at olympicmedical.org/emergency updates.
The North Peninsula's news. The North Peninsula's talk. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles, Sequim. A Radio Pacific station.
Let's re-elect Connie Beauvais for Port Commissioner.
Government does not create private sector jobs, but rather provides jobs for one-shot projects like building a bridge. Your port creates the environment and infrastructure that can create job opportunities for the long term. I will continue to work hard for this port mission. I ask for your vote this fall.
Paid for by Re-elect Connie for Port.
National Karastan Month is underway now at McCrory Carpet One, with prices starting at just $2.99 a square foot for carpet and $4.99 a square foot for LVP. If you desire timeless flooring for your home or business, Karastan flooring is flawless, long-lasting, and made for a life lived beautifully. Right now, get 12 months of 0% financing OAC and free delivery. When it comes to the perfect flooring, there's no better combo than Karastan and my friends at McCrory Carpet One.
Did you know that hot water accounts for 15 to 20% of your electric energy use? Hi, this is Clallam PUD. Let's talk about heat pump water heaters, or hybrid water heaters. A heat pump water heater uses fans and an evaporator to efficiently extract warmth from the surrounding air, saving you up to 60% on your electric water heating costs. The PUD currently has an instant rebate of up to $900 when using a participating installer, or $600 if you're installing it on your own. Plus, the federal government is offering a $2,000 tax credit. Visit clallampud.net for more information.
We're the talk of the peninsula. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles Squim, FM 101.7 and 101.3, a Radio Pacific
From
station.
ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. I'm in Lewiston, Maine, the site of the deadliest mass shooting of the year. At least 18 people killed, more than a dozen injured after a gunman opened fire at two separate locations, first at a bowling alley, then at a bar. Zoe Hutchinson was inside the bowling alley with her mom.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg, and it's just like why? Why do people do this?
The suspect, Robert Card, remains at large. ABC's Aaron Katursky has more.
We know he also spent 2 weeks over the summer in a mental health facility. He reported hearing voices in his head, and he had threatened to shoot up a National Guard base in Saco, Maine, where he has apparent military ties. So he was known to some people for mental health issues.
Maine State Police have issued a shelter-in-place order for Lewiston, Lisbon, and Bowdoin. Now with more news, here's ABC's Michelle Franzen.
As the search for the suspected gunman and Army reservist expands, the country is grappling with another mass shooting. Some now looking to Mike Johnson, the new House Speaker, on whether new gun reform action could be brought to the floor. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more on Johnson's stance.
Speaker Johnson, he has a record of voting alongside a bulk of his Republican colleagues opposing gun control measures in pretty strong lockstep. He even opposed that bipartisan bill in the wake of Uvalde.
Israel carrying out more raids in Gaza, but holding off on its larger ground offensive.
Sources telling ABC News several factors behind the delay. Chief among them, efforts to secure the release of 224 hostages taken by the terror group Hamas. Among them, at least 9 Americans.
ABC's Jordana Miller in Jerusalem. The U.S. economy grew 4.9% last quarter, better than expected. You're listening to ABC News.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
Active Liver is one of many award-winning health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at Amazon.com or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Available as a tablet or delicious sugar-free gummy. Protect and help your liver the easy and effective way with Active Liver at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
In Los Angeles, police arrested a man for allegedly attempting to break into the home of presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. twice.
The ordeal began on Wednesday morning when a man was caught by Robert Kennedy Jr.'s security, allegedly trying to break into the presidential candidate's L.A. home. RFK Jr. and his wife, actress Cheryl Hines, were at home. The LAPD responded on a burglary call and cited and released the man under LA County's current $0 cash bail rules for most nonviolent crimes. A restraining order was issued, but then the LAPD and the campaign tell us a man came back a few hours later and the LAPD was able to book him for violating a court order for returning. Over the summer, there was also an intruder arrested at RFK Jr.'s home. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
After more than a month on the picket lines, union auto workers with Ford have a tentative deal. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis has details.
The UAW and Ford both confirming a tentative deal has been reached. The union is calling it a major victory, saying the prospective contract calls for raises of about 25% over 4 years. It'll raise the top wage to more than $40 an hour, including an increase of 68% for starting wages to more than $28 an hour. There will be other benefit increases as well, and Ford says it's looking forward to getting 3 of its truck plants back up and running.
The strikes at General Motors and Stellantis locations continue along with talks. This is ABC News.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4-LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
KONP News brought to you by McCrory Carpet One. Always priced right, always done right. McCrory Carpet One. Last spring, dozens of schools in Washington were put on lockdown during a string of swatting hoax calls, including in Port Angeles and Sequim, both on the same day back in February. Now, the same thing has happened to hundreds of schools across the country. An investigation by the Washington Post looked into that situation across